sublease is, let's say you lease, usually a sublease is you're a tenant. So you're leasing, let's say in the joint venture program, you put a property under contract and you start smiling and dialing, and you find Subway telling you, we're willing to come in, and we negotiate with them, they're gonna pay you $8,000 a month. Then you say, you know what? Maybe I can lease that property. And you call the seller and you say, listen, would you give me the chance to lease the property? And the tenant and the owner of you call the owner of the property, the landlord, and you say, I'd like to lease the property and maybe close later or something. The seller says, you know what? If I lease it to you, I don't want to sell, because if I can find a tenant, I'll keep it. And you negotiate $6,000 a month with that owner who is desperate to get either cash flow or sell the property. And you want to keep the property for yourself. You want to keep some strong cash flow coming. And you convince the owner, you lease it for $6,000 for 10 years. $6,000, 10 years. You have a commitment, let's say 5 years with an option to renew for 5 years, and you have increases of 3%. But you have Subway to whom you're gonna sublease, and Subway will pay you $8,000 the first year, and then it's gonna increase by, let's say, 3% every year. So now you have a spread of $2,000 a month. You're leasing at 6, you're subleasing at 8. So subleasing is a tenant that did a sublet. Some tenants, you see, so now you have 2,000 positive cash flow. By the way, I've done some amazing deals in my lifetime with Lease Sublease. I had a seller who didn't want to sell. It was a great location. They had a sign that said for lease. When I called the guy, he offered me, listen to this, $8,000 a month. He said, you need to pay me $8,000 a month. Now, I had owned 2 doors down, and I was leasing two doors down at $15,000 a month. So I couldn't believe when this guy wanted $8,000 a month. And why did he want $8,000 a month? Because he was a jeweler and he had a lot of buildings, but he knew the jewelry business, didn't know real estate. And when I just couldn't believe it. And I said, well, are you asking $8,000 a month for this location? And he said, yes. And you'll have to commit to at least 5 years. I knew I can sublease it for more, but I had to have a paragraph in the lease that says approved for subleasing. And what I did is I went to their office. They had their attorney, they had everybody. We signed the agreement that I will lease for $8,000 a month. And there was a paragraph that I have the right to sublease so long that I stay committed to the financial commitment to the lease. And I had 30 days. I give them a check that they don't cash for 30 days so I can look at the space. And what I did for 30 days, I started smiling and dialing, and I ended up subleasing it to a company called Burberry, which is a British company, at $20,000 a month. Now, that location is 65 Fortaleza in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. It was one of the best lease sublease deals you can dream of. And what ended up happening is Burberry came in, and as soon as they signed with me, there was the clear sublease. Like we said to Burberry, this is a sublease. Any of these national companies, they don't care if it's sublease. If they like the location and they're gonna have the legal rights to operate, they love it. So I got the property, I received $20,000 a month and paid them the $8,000 a month that I committed to. And my lease with them was, as a tenant, I leased for 5 years, no increases, and then an option to renew for 5 years, and then there was a jump in the rent, and then it continues. With Burberry, they came in and they committed to the period of time. I'm giving you a kind of a synopsis of the whole transaction. It took about 90 days to finish. The good news is I had a lot of positive cash flow, $12,000 a month from that deal without even owning the building. But the key thing is, don't obligate yourself to a lease sublease, because you will have an obligation. You better have first the tenant lined up. Unless the deal is so good, you know you can make some payments until you line up somebody. That's a lease and sublease. You have a spread on the income, and eventually it's going to expire someday. So the sandwich lease is usually not a tenant that's doing this. It's usually an investor. So I come in and I say, I'd like to have the lease at, let's say, $6,000, and would like to have an option to buy the property within my lease duration or within the first 2 years. So now you have a sandwich lease. You're in the middle. There is an owner for the building that you're gonna lease from, with whom you have an option to buy the building based on your lease of $6,000 a month. I don't know, let's say you're gonna buy the building at $700,000. But you have a sublease at $8,000, and that sublease is with the big tenant, but they don't have an option to buy. They just want to lease. These companies are not interested in buying. They prefer to put their money in the equipment and in their products, etc., because that's how they work their cash flow and their expansions. So a sandwich lease is an investor who comes in, leases, subleases, has an option to buy. The powerful thing about a sandwich lease is you can actually turn around and have an option to buy. So you have to put an option consideration. Let's say you put $25,000 to have the right to buy the building for $700,000 within the next two years. You can sell that right. You can actually sell it to somebody else for $50,000. You put 25 option to buy. You can actually have a sandwich lease. You can assign that. You can literally sell the option to somebody else for $50,000. So you get your 25 back, make 25 on it, and then you can give them a sub lease with the sandwich lease that you have, and have them, let's say, pay you, let's say $6,500. So you're making $500 extra per month, and eventually they will close the deal with you, let's say at $850. So you're making money three ways: on the option money that you put in, on the cash flow difference, and on the actual exercise price of how much the building will be done for. That's because you don't have the money to do the deal, and you just have some cash flow or something that you can work out. It's one of the most creative ways to get in. Remember, when you are new and you are a little bit afraid of making mistakes, you have to be as creative and as knowledgeable as possible. You're only limited by your knowledge, your creativity, which will only come after knowledge. Because if you have no knowledge and no training, how are you going to be creative? Creative about what? You don't even know what you're creative about. So you have to have knowledge. Like calls like this and brainstorming sessions and questions like this, you will learn a lot. And that's why we tape them so people can listen again. So you are only held back by your level of knowledge, your creativity, and your communication ability. Your ability to communicate can transform things. I can ask the same question in two different ways: one that's rough and difficult, that shows that it's benefit for me, and one that is actually smoother and to the benefit of the other person. Something like, wow, you want me to exercise the option, have a lease with an option to buy at $800,000. I mean, can we do a little bit better than that? Because 800 is a bit steep. You see, I use the word can we and because. These are like smoother words. And the person says, well, maybe we could do 700,000 if you can exercise the option within a year. Okay, within a year, can we do like 650, or I'd be pushing my luck? It's like I'm almost giving them the chance to tell me no. And when you phrase it in a way that I want you to hear a no, they may say a yes. You know, would it be too much? Would it be a no if I kind of push my luck to 650? Say, well, best I can give you is the 700 for a year, then that's it. Okay, then I'll do it your way. Now they feel they won twice. And what we do now is the minute we sign with a tenant that's gonna pay 8 and I'm paying 6, the building will appraise higher for me because I'm getting more than the seller who's getting less from me. Extremely, extremely powerful. You can make a lot of money with sandwich leases, lease sublease. You can do lease sublease and come back and ask for an option to buy. And if they ask you, why do you want an option to buy? Because I'm going to invest in the building. And if I don't exercise my option, you keep the building with my option money. You got to make it like what's in it for them. And by the way, today's market is the best time to do these creative deals. You couldn't do it before. You couldn't put it in 2021. In 2020, nobody wanted to do transactions. They didn't know what's going on because there was COVID. 2021 market went up like crazy. It was seller's market. 2022 interest rate went up. Everybody was confused. 2023 was disaster. And right now you can do this because the market is very slow.